Whether you believe in them or not, could the U.S. government's sudden willingness to admit to the validity of UFOs be used as a call for global peace? Unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you should have heard the breaking news regarding the U.S. government's willingness to finally admit the existence and concern for UFOs is very real, at least to the degree that some of the sightings, especially those by military personnel and law enforcement around the world, are well worth investigating. But on this subject, the U.S. is actually way behind other countries. Russia, for instance, has been very open with their population about their concerns regarding unidentified flying objects. And for quite some time, there's been an international panel of ex-military pilots from various governments calling for a global investigation into the matter. Deep concerns for the UFO phenomena has been expressed by high-profile politicians such as Harry Reid, Marco Rubio, and ex-President Jimmy Carter, who actually claims to have witnessed an unidentified flying object for himself. However, and rightfully so, there are those who are concerned that the Pentagon's willingness to be more transparent on the matter may be a desire to add just one more excuse to bloat its already unnecessary exploding budget even more than it already is. Oddly, there are those who say while this concern is understandable, considering how fake intelligence has been used to get the U.S. into unnecessary wars in the past, the Pentagon already is able to get everything it wants when it comes to funding, so they don't need the threat of UFOs to attain more funding. However, this is a straw man argument, especially since some of the sources expressing it has already done countless stories about the huge increase in the number of Americans who no longer trust American intelligence agencies. More and more Americans are waking up to the horrors of American foreign policies to the point that even party loyalists are very uncomfortable discussing foreign policy because they know on that particular subject, both mainstream parties absolutely suck. To be clear, my motive here is not to say UFOs and intelligent life from some other place other than Earth couldn't be a possibility. I mean, if an odds expert were to consider all of the billions of galaxies and planets within those galaxies, I think they would calculate that the odds of us being the only intelligent life in existence is probably pretty low. But that's just my humble opinion because I'm far from an odds expert. But one thing I need to touch on before moving forward is this. Clearly there's a faction within our government who are attempting to say Russia is behind the aircraft flying in U.S. airspace. Not surprising since McCarthyism unfortunately has made its return into U.S. politics, but this is one of the most moronic takes on the recent military encounter with UFOs I've heard so far. At least we'd better hope that it's not Russia or any other country that we've given legitimate excuses to blow us clean off the map.
Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles an hour, that it can evade radar, and that can fly through air and water and possibly space. And oh, by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet still can defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity. That's precisely what we're seeing.
Look at that thing. It's rotating. Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 miles from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
So let me get this straight. Russia has advanced military assets that makes America's look like something from the Stone Ages, but they've allowed the U.S. to do things like illegally place military assets in territories they're not supposed to, basically surrounding them, and they're just allowing it, even though they have the technology to stop it. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, can you imagine if Russia decided to conduct military exercises around America's borders? Well, that's pretty much what we're doing to Russia right now. So believe me, if they had technology that was that much more advanced than our own, I think they would use it to do something about that. As I stated earlier, this discussion isn't about what you personally believe these UFOs are, whether you think they're man-made or they're visitors from another galaxy. This is more about how this subject can be used as a tool for profit by war profiteers. For those of you who may not know, your hard-earned tax dollars is already being spent on a so-called Space Force. And to be clear, the Space Force isn't for exploration. It's for so-called defense. Whether the government actually has genuine concern about these aerial phenomena or not, one thing is certain. Capitalists will go absolutely bananas if they're not allowed to profit in some way from this subject. One thing war profiteers know from experience is this: the American public is highly susceptible to the fear of other earthlings. So selling the fear of some possible strange intelligent species from another planet would be a cakewalk. When they're done with their well-oiled propaganda campaign, all we'll desire is for Big Brother to protect us at all costs. Costs that would more than likely translate into profits for them. And it's not like the profits are exactly being passed around. The profits are just going to a few people, while the rest of us are just being pimped. Simply put, mass murder for profit is something that definitely needs to stop, aliens or not. But throw in the possibility of Earth being attacked from a more advanced species, and we're certainly talking about the need for immediate change. In fact, that's probably a key reason why the U.S. government has been hesitant to address the subject in the first place. If people believed there could possibly be a non-human threat, they'd be far less likely to fall for propaganda that's intended to cause the fear of other humans. At that point, the only viable option would be to spread propaganda to cause the fear of non-humans. In other words, an alien invasion. But then one would have to ask themselves, alien aircraft have been spotted since the ancients, and they've been recorded since the ancients. So if the aliens meant to do any harm to humans on Earth, why haven't they done it yet? The American government has mastered its ability to keep its population in a constant state of perpetual fear. There's always a reason to kill mass numbers of completely innocent people in order to establish a peace that is somehow never actually achieved. The good news is, more people than ever are completely aware of this problem. But simply being aware of a problem doesn't exactly solve the problem. If the U.S. government claims or suggests there is a possible threat to humanity from an unknown source, we the people need to counter that statement with one of our own, and that is a call for global peace among humans here on Earth. If humans continue killing each other in wars for profits, the aliens won't need to attack us. They could just sit back and continue watching us kill ourselves. It doesn't make sense to claim we're preparing to defend ourselves from an advanced civilization when we continue to be our own worst threat. Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. If you liked the video, subscribe and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, hey look, subscribe anyway and give it a thumbs down. But until next time, as always, stay safe.